Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Sagittarius taking place on June 3rd at 11:41 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This is going to be an exciting full moon. But before we begin, I'd like to let you know if you missed Manifestation Mastery and you're hoping that that course is going to reopen again, sad to say, right now, there's no plans on my schedule for 2023 to reopen that workshop. There's other programming on the agenda for 2023. So if you want to look at your manifestation technique, generally speaking, for anything in life, and then for love, money, and health, then what you want to do is book a private reading with me. A 30-minute is enough if all you want to do is look at manifestation. You do not need to book a full hour, save your money. But you can also, if you have other questions, definitely book a full hour if you'd like to talk about other areas of life and have other questions. You can do that over at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. And stay tuned until the end. If you're new, welcome. If you're feeling the content, something's resonating for you, or you're seeking me out every lunation, the invitation is to subscribe so you're first to know when the videos drop and hit that notification bell. We're going to be doing first look at the end of this video, which entails my first impression of the next lunation so that you know how the energy progresses from here and you can plan. Okay, so here's our full moon in Sagittarius opposite the sun here. And full moons portend completions. They portend the culmination of a cycle, something coming full circle. And this full moon is speaking to our partnership asteroid Juno there in Gemini. It is having a conversation, this full moon sextile to Cheroklo, the divine intercessor there in Aquarius. It is also sextile here to the shaman's asteroid there, Make in Libra, partnership sign. And we've got a square to Saturn and Nessus conjunct, the disciplinarian and the place where we can kind of drill down and deeply hone and focus in our thinking there in Pisces. We've got a trine to Chiron in Aries, and that's definitely prominent. That Chiron in Aries brings out woundedness or wisdom, our choice. And we've got a trine to a Mars Pallas conjunction here. Here's Mars, here's Pallas in Leo. So there's a lot of motivation and ambition there. This is really exciting. I'm totally loving and feeling this energy. This Cheroklo and Pallas are the most influential because their degrees are some of the most exact. They're at 13 degrees. This particular lunation is at the 13th degree of Sagittarius. So they're going to be a little bit more influential than some of the other planets going on here. What we have is with this full moon, like I said, it's a completion of a cycle. But because we're dealing specifically with one of our communication and thought processes signs, Sagittarius specifically deals with like writing and belief systems. We have an end of a way of thinking, a way of communicating, messaging, or even an ideology or belief system that may have something to do with partnership. There comes Juno, bringing her into the picture. It may have something to do with a transformation, having to do with leadership. There is Make now in the conversation. And commitments, focus, and boundaries. That's our Saturn Nessus thing. So some sort of transformation or growth there. Or leadership and wisdom that came as a result of what we had to grow through. And there's our Chiron influence. So it's a really exciting piece of transformation and change. All of this with this full moon can play out as perhaps a rebranding of self in business or in your career, a repackaging of services and offerings, or remessaging in your business or repositioning of yourself to take advantage of opportunities for greater leadership, greater visibility, greater impact and influence, etc. I had several clients and several people in the last 30 days leading up to this full moon share with me that, they were invited into a particular position in work or service, and their response was, I only really want to participate if I can stand in leadership in this way. So that may be something that you're experiencing here. We've got a lot of visibility, impact, influence with a Sagittarius full moon that's now coming to light. And this could particularly for some people be like announcing a change in business services or career path, or a change in status, meaning an ending of one position and the beginning of another due to a new alliance or change in alliances, perhaps a business partnership or a marriage or other official change in relationship status, including a divorce, a step forward in partnership, a step back from partnership. And for others, this is a status change due to things like graduating school or completing an educational training or some season of private growth that now elevates your energy, your perspective, and your contribution to life as you know it and the people in your life. So ultimately, there's lots of blessing on this transition through the positioning of Cheroklo harmonizing so closely with this lunation, this full moon. And that's because Cheroklo's specific role here, if you don't know her story, just really briefly, Cheroklo delivers divine intercession on behalf of the humans with the gods on Mount Olympus. And there's a very specific story about that. I won't bore you with that today because we've got a lot of ground to cover. But she stands in between the two, and she ensures that by her request that anything that was taken away is given back. It's given back better and up-leveled. It's given back repackaged and new so that humans can move on to the next chapter and season in their life, light, and leadership. So whatever you lay down or complete at this time, trust that it really will be given back to you, transformed and elevated, allowing you a new life. And for many, this is going to herald as well a change in community or social circle, the joining and or the exiting or completion or dissolution of a social circle and community, and a step up due to Makemake's influence. And if you're not familiar with Makemake, I believe he's Hawaiian affiliated. But the story there is around being chosen to take a very long, arduous, actually very dangerous journey to go retrieve retrieve something that symbolized fertility and growth for the tribe, and then bring that back. And then once you've come back, then being allowed to sit and meditate and provide some wisdom and guidance for the tribe as a new tribal elder. So certainly many students have completed some level of growth during this season. I think we're all coming out of the growth and graduating into a new season from the post-2020 events, moving into a new season of our life at this point. So the vibe is definitely real, okay? It's a bittersweet vibe for some. Certainly, there's a celebration for all, whatever's completing and moving into its new season. It was time. Even if we weren't ready to let it go or to graduate, it's time. And the best part of this transition is that no matter which way you look at it, no matter what vantage point you're coming at it from, it is definitively elevation. It's a season of up level, it's a season of promotion. Even if it's a divorce or being laid off from a job, the Sag moon is infused with possibilities, optimism, faith. That's what Sagittarius really understand or is really about. It's about a lot of truth as well. The Sag moon is infused with possibilities for expansion in whatever you happened to be liberated from, no matter how you were liberated from it at this lunation. So there's some specifics at this lunar update that have to do with love and money that may have some triggers involved. I'm going to talk about those in a minute and how to work with those triggers right after this. But if this is, you're really feeling your way into this transition, but you don't quite know which way is up or where to focus, you've got some ideas, but you really want to know how to manifest those and bring them into full fruition, now's the time to book a private reading with me. My calendar is definitely open. And this is especially going to be helpful for you if you were hoping to join Manifestation Mastery and just missed it this year. Book a private reading. We can get you all the intel you need. Because thematically, the transitional moment that we've got going on here is supported by a few other aspects. And this theme makes for, this theme is like a follow-up to the Mercury retrograde that's now fully complete. Once Mercury passed the 15th degree of Taurus, remember we had this huge manifestation season, the first 4 months of this year, January, February, March, April. There was a parade of influencing energies marching through the very first sign of the zodiac, Aries. And that created a rebirth energy. And that rebirth energy has now given way from planting seeds to really fertilizing them, watering them, nurturing and nourishing them, as there has been a parade of energy marching through the sign of nourishment, that's Taurus, nourishment in the physical form. So in May, we had this dual world experience as the sound of one song began to fade out and a new song began to come online. And what currently exists may really run counter to some of the things that you spent the first 4 months of this year manifesting and calling in. So there's I mentioned in May, especially if you were on my private list, I walked you through in an email what this represented, how to work with it, the double worlding going on here. From June onward, it's going to be time to, as my coach, Yielded Vesa, says, walk out the transition. We're going to be walking out, meaning in the physical world, dealing with our 5 senses and the structures of our lives. We're going to be walking out, changing these things and moving into a larger season of choices that expands from here, that allows us to ground our manifestations, really move them from idea, from thought, from vision into form. All of the excitement, all of that easy manifestation energy, all of that kind of like possibility and dreaminess of the first 4 months of the year now require us to walk through what it's going to take to not just get a manifestation, but to live in it, to keep it, to make it our new way of life. Many of you are familiar with the ways in which you've been able to call stuff in. You've called stuff in love. You've called stuff in money. But the love comes, it just hasn't stayed. Now we're moving into a season of becoming what it takes to have it stay. Yeah. Becoming the capable party, the capable person of having the up level, living in the up level, and staying there. So recall, I kept telling you to not talk about the old, to just stay focused on what you want. Yeah. This was the message all through January through April, I was, especially as we started to get into the crescendo, the peak of this energy, I was like, you guys, it's really important to hold your processing of the past. The time is going to come for airing grievances and getting help to process it. That time is fast arriving as we get to the end of June and move into a processing season with the start of Venus retrograde. Once Venus arrives fully here in the sign of Leo, we're going to be at the start of Venus retrograde, and that'll be our moment for retrospectives and diving deep. We're not there yet, okay? So hold out a little while longer on that. For now, keep using your mouth and using your mind to name and claim what you want. With Uranus and Mercury conjunct, here's that Mercury now. He's sped up past the retrograde zone and sitting with Uranus. Uranus is the lightning quick quantum leap, hand of the divine that moves us from one reality to the next, like overnight. That's overnight change. It is sudden change. What's been coming out of your mouth is now going to start to manifest in full form, and it's going to happen really quickly. So I was specific. I really hope you hated my warning. I was trying so hard to help you guys get really good things in this season of rapid manifestation, because when this Mercury sped back up and got in conversation with Uranus, and this Jupiter began to really strongly be in conversation with the North Node, which it's been for the last 2 weeks, anything that we have been talking about, anything we've been focused on, anything that we have been communicating about, whether it has been complaining and commiserating, or whether it has been staying in gratitude or just proclaiming and decreeing and naming and claiming, that's the stuff we're going to start to see really lock into form at this time. Okay. So this is a season when thoughts that we've had in the past are becoming things in the present very, very, very quickly for all of us. So hopefully you've been able to really, look at anything that's pained you, anything that's ailed you, anything that's presented as other than what you want, and just say, look, I release it, or look, I claim a transformation with this person, in this work, in this with my kids. I insist that we become new together, that we're living in something new. You think about the possibilities of them being different. Because if you've been dwelling on disappointment, I'm sorry to say, like, this kind of energy is going to just feed you more of it. It's just going to be like, oh, that's what she's focused on. She must like that. Let's give her more of that. That's what he thinks about that person. Okay, he thinks that person's so disappointing. Let's feed him more experiences about how she's so disappointing. You're going to start to see a lot of that kind of thing show up at this point. And there is divine purpose in this. Seasons like this really show us the truth of our power and how well endowed we are as creators, divine creators incarnate here on earth, to really create whatever kind of experiences we want. Now, sometimes we're not in seasons of rapid manifestation. So we can name and claim, and a lot of time goes by, we haven't seen anything, and then we just kind of give up. And then that's when our manifestation that had roots never sows us shoots, never sprouts. But other times in seasons like this, where it can go so fast, it's like, oh, wow, dang, I didn't know my mouth had that much power. Yes, it does. So does your mind. And this is a season where we're really getting the opportunity to see that in action, where it's like literally passing thought. What if that bus shows up? The bus shows up. Literally passing thought. I hope they have burdock root at the grocery store. Burdock root is at the grocery, or you pass a farmer's market on the way where there's exactly that thing you're looking for. Man, it'd be really funny if like it rained today. Boom, weather didn't call for rain, rain's happening. You're going to really see your power in this season. And it's not too late to switch it up. If you're like, okay, yeah, K Moon, you're right. I was dwelling on some disappointments, and you're really clear now, that's not what you want. Switch it up, change your mind. It's unironic. I'm just going to say, I feel like I'm meant to really share this with you guys today. And this was not on today's script, but I just want to give you guys an example because I was wondering why. Why would it play out like this? But I think it was because I'm supposed to tell you guys this. This week, um, so I only read on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But on Wednesday and Thursday, I had back to back clients who have, and I'm seeing it here and just the way this chart happens to play out, who had a fifth house of manifestation that was Gemini ruled, meaning if they wanted to manifest something, they had to use Gemini methods. And so the Gemini way is to get curious, it's to explore, but Gemini governs the spoken word and the thought forms. It governs what we're thinking about and what we're communicating about, mind and mouth. And so I had to say back to back times, like for like 4 hours each day, you're gonna have to train your brain like it's a dog on a leash. And you're catching that brain, that dog, run out into traffic. As much as you hate yanking the dog's leash, but you see a car come in at 40, 60 miles or kilometers an hour down the street, as painful as it's going to be for that dog to get yanked, it's going to be more painful to get crushed by the wheels of oncoming traffic. You have to really place a demand on your brain about what it's focused on, and really a demand on your mouth about what you're allowing to come out of it. Do not let that dog walk you. You walk this dog. You train it to stay on the areas you want to place attention on. Because if you're not doing that, you're going to find that that dog is going to walk you into oncoming traffic. Okay? And that's not what you want. You really want to train your mind to obey what your intention is, to do exactly what you want it to do. And many of my clients were like, well, how do I do that, Kay? I was like, you tell it. Brain, I now demand that you only feed me positive memories of my ex. I now demand that anything concerning my mother comes with the energy of forgiveness. All thoughts, all remembrances, all words that come out of my mouth concerning my child deal with forgiveness. You place a demand on your mind to serve up thoughts about good possibilities. Anytime I think about my boss, I now command my brain to think of him as positive, kind, gentle, and supportive. You place a demand on that brain. I now command my mind. Anytime I remember XYZ circumstance, my heart is filled with forgiveness. I forgive and release. I forgive and release. I forgive and release. I take the lesson and leave the perception of loss. That's how you do it. Anytime the thought comes up, you use it as a training opportunity for your brain. That's just the way the Gemini fifth house people, I showed them how to do it. It's unironic. I don't think there are any coincidences that the timing that positioned the fifth house of this particular chart happens to be a Gemini fifth house. Like I said, I think more of you than the Gemini fifth house people needed to know that today. So I'm sharing that with you because it was uncanny. It could not have been a coincidence that I needed to say that at least 10 times this week alone, which I've never had to do. Not like that. I've never seen people with the exact same rising and the exact same fifth house walk in back to back, not like that. So I think that is probably because I needed to deliver that for you guys as the collective, that you have the power to maintain that level of focus by placing a demand on your mind. Okay. Anytime you need to do it, they're like, how long do I need to do it? Until you get there. You do it until the dog obeys. You do not cease training just because the dog doesn't want to sit. You continue to train the dog until the dog sits. Yeah. And it's different. It's different. Like nobody's saying abuse the dog. but you continue to work with it until the dog understands that staying on the leash and on the sidewalk is safer for all of us. This is the only way they get treats. This is the only way it gets rewarded, is when it stays on the sidewalk. Okay. And this is important for all of us during this season. Okay. Like I said, we're going to get to a point of like processing and airing grievances when Venus goes retrograde. And then we're going to have a full 90 days, 120 days of just pulling out and digging up the past and why this happened to me and how do I deal? We're going to get there. But for now, we need to solidify and stabilize the new realm for ourselves so that it cannot be destructed with passing thoughts anymore. Okay. Very important, especially in love and money, which we're going to get to in a moment. Okay. So whatever we desire, this is really, especially with Jupiter conjunct the North Node in Taurus, the sign of desire, it's coming in quick. But the thing about Jupiter, a lot of astrologers will say Jupiter is luck. Jupiter is, good things happening. But the reality with Jupiter is that Jupiter is just plain and simple in its neutrality, expansion, and Jupiter will expand whatever he is touching, which is when during 2020, Jupiter was touching the planets that were facilitating the spread of what we saw. And so Jupiter, or what we saw happening in 2020. So when Jupiter touched those, Jupiter spread it like wildfire. There was a tsunami in, I think it was Malaysia, several years back, pre-2020. Jupiter was highly featured during that tsunami. It was a Jupiter conversation that made the water and the waves so big that it took so many lives. Jupiter on its own is not good. Jupiter on its own is not bad. None of the planets are. Jupiter just expands whatever we got going on. And this is why it's so critical to stay focused with Jupiter speaking to the North Node, because it's calling it in through the North Node. It's allowing that expansion based on what we're focused on. And thankfully, Jupiter is in Taurus with the North Node. So we're getting an expansion of what feels good. There's a call to really focus on what feels good, what feels aligned, what nourishes and nurtures us. So again, dog on a leash. Train that brain, y'all. I'm telling you, it is going to make the difference as we get to the latter half of the year. Okay. This is our opportunity of growing the desires of our hearts with choices. Okay. Choices are really critical here because we've got Mars, which represents action, having a conversation. That is a square. Squares represent tension, but the tension is meant to offer us choices. All right. And we're watering our seeds with behavioral choices in their favor. Now, we're still walking in two worlds, like I mentioned, but you should already be seeing, if you were diligent about manifestation in the first 4 months of the year, like I kept talking about, you should already be seeing your new world continue to solidify around you, your new manifestations continuing to take form and shape, especially as you make choices in their favor. In other words, call it in with your words and then call it in with your behavior. There's still a huge amount of energy here for creation. And this is like the end of a major fireworks display. You know how, like, if you've ever seen fireworks either live or you can watch them on YouTube for, a celebration. If you've ever seen fireworks, you know that they kick off with a bang, and then there are these punctuated moments of like blow your mind elation. But the finale is when it's like the whole sky seems to be lit up with color and light, and it's so overwhelmingly beautiful it can take your breath away. June, this is that. So if you've been like, oh, did I miss the season of manifestation? No, you did not. June is it. baby. This is our last kind of hurrah at manifestation, kind of like hoo-ha all month long. And that it's an exciting period of time for like really, because like I said, it's now thoughts are becoming things even faster than they had been, even faster. And that's, I love to see this for all of us. I think that if you, even if you were like not really focused before, you can get focused now and still get really wonderful results. Okay. And so the challenge is while the new is coming into form, the old is presenting all month long. And so I mentioned with the Mercury retrograde here, when we had it the last several weeks, we were going to be seeing and experiencing the presentation of things that stood in the way that were going to have to be dealt with in order for our new to really take shape and form. And so you should have seen that from the tail end of April into, I would say, about a week ago. With Mercury retrograde, something in the world of Mercury again deals with the mind. So some outpicturing of either an old mindset or an old belief system would have shown up in the 3D because it was in Taurus, the world of form. Something in the last 3 weeks in the world of form that maybe was uncomfortable, you didn't like, showed itself so that you would know in order for you to get the things you've been manifesting the last 4 months, this has to be dealt with. You're going to have to deal with this. You have to find a way to handle this. Okay. And so a lot of my readings with clients during the Mercury retrograde really focused on, yeah, that thing did show itself. How do I deal with it? Is it a Chiron thing? Is it a shadow thing in love? Is it an issue with Pluto? Like how do I deal with it? How do I get into the light? And so again, if that thing showed itself and you're like, okay, now I see that's what it was. You had a reason why. Now you know what to take action on so that you can get to living in your manifestation, not just having triggers tear it down. Okay, we've got a continuation of that old thing presenting itself this month, even though Mercury is direct. We've got, particularly as it comes to love and money, and that's Venus here. Venus is getting some interesting aspects with the light of this full moon. She's getting a square from Chiron. All right. She's getting, she's squaring the nodal axis and she's opposite Pluto here. Chiron deals with wounds and it deals with wisdom and leadership. Pluto deals with power, but also with fear, manipulation, and control. She's trine Neptune, which governs our capacity to spiritualize and create from spirit. And she's also speaking with Ceres. She's got a sextile to Ceres, which deals with the seasonality of things, closings and openings. So when you put all of this together, and then we've got our partnership asteroid, who's a higher octave of Venus. Venus is attraction, but Juno here is commitment. She's having a conversation with Chiron too. She's having a sextiling conversation. And she's got a squaring conversation here with Ceres again, which deals with openings and closings. So when you have both energies here that deal with love and Venus specifically with money, Juno with patronage and being supported financially by others, having such powerful conversations with Neptune, who dissolves things, and Pluto, who ends things, and Chiron, who's got a lot to do with wounding, the potential for triggers to be up in our experiences as it pertains to love or money are very high. There could be some old memories of perceived wounds and endings that cause discomfort coming up. It's critical to take the lesson and release the perception of loss. It's critical to take the lesson and release the perception of loss. It is critical to take the lesson and release the perception of loss. This stuff is up at this time so we can be accountable for what we've experienced insofar as either active co-creators of the situations we found ourselves in that caused wounding, or just accountability for general ignorance. We didn't know what we didn't know. And not only is this an energy that invites us into self-forgiveness, mercy, and divine clemency. That's how we be accountable for what we didn't know, what we didn't know. We give ourselves forgiveness. We have mercy with ourselves. We give ourselves clemency. As we experience the triggering of these memories, this configuration also invites us to share mercy, forgiveness, clemency, and compassion with others, directly or in our hearts, as we continue to part ways with our old experiences and our old manifestations. Lots of fleshing out of the old as Creation Goddess and South Node have been dancing together in the first several months of this year. As the new creations are coming online, the old creations are exiting through the South Node portal there in the sign of endings, Scorpio, and Creation Goddess here, like really taking our co-created creations, created with the divine, created with partners. She's in partnership sign. She's taking those creations and she's basically flushing them down a toilet for us. Thankfully, we are released from our old as long as we can cease bringing it up, cease holding on to it, cease gripping it with pain. Okay. So, whatever this kind of broody, yearny, longing, obsessive, needy, wounded combo is causing you to remember, make peace. Make peace with the memory. Stay in gratitude that now is not then. You are not who you were. And release it. Let it go. The key words in that last statement are now and gratitude. All right. Re-listen to that if you need to. If you heard nothing else about this energy around love and money, all you need to know is you're not who you were in either area. And you can be thankful for the impossibility of repeating any of the previous pain you went through with love or with money before, based on that fact alone, that you are not who you were. Whatever trigger is up, the event it's associated with is done. So do what you have to do to be done with it. And with Pallas conjunct Mars, let's just clear that. Here's Pallas and Mars again in Leo, the sign of sovereignty and creativity. We can be thankful for our courage, creativity, and motivation to embrace the new us and our new experiences. And by protecting our sovereignty at this time and not digging around in the mud of the past and all of its pain and all and wallowing in it and playing sad music and watching sad shows. Listen, dog on a leash, all right? It happened, past tense. It is not happening now, present tense. Okay? If triggers in the past are reminding you of if triggers in the now, the present, are reminding you of something from the past, forgive the past and let it go. Turn away. Act on your new creation. Again, a greater season of autopsy and processing is indeed coming when this Venus goes retrograde. So just make some mental notes. This is what I'm going to be dealing with during the Venus retrograde. I'm going to handle this. But that time is about 30 to 40 days away. And once we're there, we'll have a good 90 days of reviewing the old and all of our feelings about it. But do yourself a favor for now. Forgive. 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 All right. And do what you can to forget the pain while keeping the lesson. Focus on the wisdom and the wounding. That's the Chiron piece, who's speaking so loudly here to both Juno and Venus. Do what you can to focus on the wisdom in the wounding, and whatever actions you can take because this Chiron is having a loose conversation here with Mars. It's just going to get stronger in the coming weeks. Take actions, Mars's actions, to ensure and protect. That's the palace piece here, sitting next to Mars, that a brighter future happens in the now. Okay. So that's how to work with that piece of the energy. We've got a T square to Saturn here from the moon. I love Saturn's energy in this, because anytime we've got a T square, we've got choices based on tension happening. And Saturn loves to restore wholeness and integrity. All right. Whenever we've got this T square and we've got 3 of 4 of the mode occupied. Sag is occupied by the moon. Pisces, the mutable mode, is occupied by Saturn. Mutable mode Gemini is occupied by the sun. The unoccupied sign at those degrees is Virgo. That's the 4th of 4 signs, but there's no placement in Virgo at these degrees. So in order to balance the energy, we step into it. We occupy Virgo energy, okay? And what Virgo is asking us to do is deal with discernment and decision making this month. It will be important for us to focus on where and how you can make some boundaries. That's Saturn. Make some boundaries between your old and your new so the new can thrive. This is going to be automatic for some. You're going to just get a new job, or you're like graduating literally. Like the old is literally no longer in your existent reality. But for most of us, this may actually require more intentionality behaviorally and learning to say no or stop or just excuse yourself from situations that are misaligned or that you've outgrown. Or learn how to stop responding and just ignore the BS. That's a way to cope too. Just let it go, turn away. Instead of trying to take people or situations with you or grow and change them so they can come with you, might be time to just let go of what you've outgrown. I remember ages ago, I had a coach who I worked with on mindset development for business. And we had a segment in our coaching program that dealt specifically with family systems and family pain and inheriting family mindsets and specifically dealing with our parents. And he saw that I was deeply struggling because of the way I was so different from my family set. I come from a very conservative background, very conservative parents. And I mean, I don't need to tell you, based on where you found me and what I was doing, I'm not like them. I never have been like them. And he saw how much my struggle to win their approval and love was creating consternation and blockage in my ability to operate on what was in my heart and mind to come here to do. He pulled me aside one day and he looked me dead in my face and he said, Kay, your parents are not coming to your freedom show. And it broke me and birthed me in that one moment. It set me free and it allowed me to have peace with them and who and how they chose to be. I could love them as they were and appreciate what they gave me instead of walking around feeling some kind of loss or wounded for what they didn't have to give because they just weren't built like I'm built. They don't have the purpose God placed in my heart or the mission that I do. They have their own purpose and their own mission to walk out. It served and liberated all of us for me to let go and let them love me the way they could with love and gratitude in my heart for what they could give and keep my attention on that instead and what I'm going to create next instead. So I leave you with that because some of you are faced with a very similar moment at this time as Gemini here, where the sun that's illuminating our full moon and partnership asteroid, and the sign that deals with siblings, cousins, neighbors, and soul family. There is a breakdown and a change in the scenery of some of our closest familiars at this time. And that's not a bad thing. where you are headed, what's been placed in your heart. There are some things that other people have where they're heading, what's been placed in their heart. Y'all are going in different directions, and that's okay. That's okay. Let them. Let them go. Let them grow. And you let yourself go and grow too. Okay. All in all, this is a wonderful finale this June month to manifestation energy of the first 5 months of the year. This is when all the fireworks are popping off. It's a great invitation this month to lock in the new manifestations and close out, dissolve, release the old stuff. If you missed Manifestation Mastery, you're not too late. You can book a private reading with me. We can look at how to manifest this stuff before the end of June so you can lock in your new, because once we get into the second half of the year, it's going to be all about making choices to seal it. All right. Very exciting. You can book with me at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. You heard something that resonates, give it a thumbs up. We are going and subscribe. We're going to look at the next lunar update in just a moment here. And we're going to talk about where this energy progresses from here. Just one moment. All right, this is our new moon in Gemini that's taking place 2 weeks after this lunation. We've got June 18th, 12:36 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, check a time zone converter for your local time. Here's our new moon. Moon sits with sun. Ooh. Okay, moon sits with sun with the partnership and marriage planet there. That's Juno. I am so thrilled. I mean, we are in the middle of wedding season in the northern hemisphere, so that's fun to see. We've got passion here with Venus and Mars conjunct. Ooh, love, 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 love is in the air. I like to see it. We've got a Chiron sextile. Okay, so that can bring out more of the wisdom of Chiron. And we've got a Neptune square. All right. Excitement has now gotten right-sized. It's gotten proportioned. Spiritual connections for sure, but also there can be the dissolution of certain connections or the over-spiritualization of certain connections. Okay. What else is going on here? I like to see creation, yeah, dissolution, creation goddess, speaking with South Node, speaking with this. This speaks to dissolution of some kind. Okay, okay, okay. But what's interesting, this is really unusual because I'm seeing like sudden coming together and I'm seeing sudden coming apart happening at the same time. There's this Vesta Uranus commitment thing happening here in Taurus. This speaks to me about sudden commitment, and she represents commitment. And this is a new moon, so it speaks to new beginnings. So it's like sudden commitments coming in, especially with the Jupiter conjunct the North Node piece here. This is like expansion of stuff kind of coming in, and to some degree, it's loose, but it's there. You could say this Jupiter North Node is sextile this new moon energy, meaning it's supporting it. Yeah, it's like sudden. It's very sudden, kind of like commitment kind of stuff. Shifts in commitment, shifts in alliances, very sudden shifts in because this is Gemini, there's also this duality too. So there's this energy of like the old and the new happening at the same time, which we've been talking about, but it's like you got proposed to, but your divorce papers aren't even finalized. It's like you got a new job offer, but you haven't even given notice at your last job that you're ready to go. You put a down payment or you put the money in escrow for the new house, but you haven't sold the old house yet. It's this kind of energy where you got one foot in both worlds and you're going to have to make some decisions about what it is you're going to be doing with this. Wow. Okay. Fascinating. And no accident because we've got Mercury square Saturn here. That's all about some decisions going on. So, TikTok people, focus on what you want, call it in. Because, like I said, we're in a season of like rapid manifestation. And I'm seeing like this Mars Venus thing here is providing plenty of oomph to like put things in motion that have been kind of either stagnant or locked in a different direction. I'm seeing a lot of momentum to call things in a new direction. Even all of this mutable energy, the full moon in Sagittarius had a ton of fixed energy. Even though Gem and Sag are mutable signs, we're moving from a season of locked in old to full on transition into the new because that's what mutable signs do. They transition from one to the next. And so this is like the actual moment of transition as we get to the new moon in Gemini. So super exciting, really rather thrilling. I'm loving seeing this. Uh, Listen, those of you who are guided to jump and just build your wings on the way down, this is some fortuitous energy to jump. Those of you who are guided to say yes and just figure it out as you go, this is very fortuitous energy for figuring it out as you go. Uh, for those of you who know you need to put a period on a sentence before you can start a next sentence, otherwise things are just going to get crazy and not make any sense and just be chaos and probably completely break down. Putting the period on the sentence should be happening like now at the full moon in Sagittarius. Do it now. Because this new moon in Gemini is about to blow your mind and the way it's about to open up a whole new version of new stuff. So, and solidification of new in the third dimension. Just wow. It's really beautiful energy. So exciting. Okay. Y'all know what to do. And if you need some support figuring out what to do, you know where to find me. I'm over at kmoonastro.com. Take great care and bye for now.